I'm actually way happier and more excited about that victory than I thought I would be beforehand, because so much of the setup to this game felt like, okay, they're treating this like a preseason game. They're only going to play their starters for so long, and then they're going to yoink them. So what are you really going to learn? And at the very least, if D'Amico's goal was to wash the taste out of their mouths from that awful, awful Ravens loss, this is exactly how you would want it to go. Get your quarterback in, have them have some success. They score a touchdown on the opening drive for only the 6th time this season. They've scored on the opening drive a lot. They just haven't scored touchdowns on the opening drive. That was really good to see. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the video. I'm going to go through that opening drive since that's the only really substantial stuff that we have to work with for the offense. Then I'm going to look at the Damian Pierce touchdown run, because I think that speaks to some good things, not just about Damian, but perhaps the offensive line in this configuration. And then just a little bonus defensive highlight just for the hell of it. And we'll see if the YouTube live stream shuts me down, because I'm going to be using clips here. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Stick with me. Depending on if the Chargers win or lose this game, if the Chargers win, you're going to see the Chargers this weekend. As of right this moment, they're up by 1 touchdown over the Raiders. I'll be surprised if they don't win this game. BetUS right now is going to give you a 150% bonus on your first deposit, all the way up to $2,000. If you're one of those brave souls that bet on the Texans today, God bless you. You deserve every bit of it. Next time, consider doing it with BetUS. That 150% bonus on your first deposit, up to $2,000 when you use the code YouTube150. So let's take a look at this first drive, because there was a lot of good stuff here. Now, I'll point out some of the things that I'm still concerned about even after this first drive. But hey, you get Nico Collins involved immediately, scheme him up. We know that the Texans, we know they're a lot better in the first half than in the second half. So we can't really tell a whole lot from a promising one drive in the first quarter. But they got the ball to Nico. I don't want to call it jet sweep creative in this day and age, but they got him to an unconventional manner. They were happy taking shorter gains on this first drive. Blitz off the edge. This has been a bugaboo for CJ and the offense at times. Ball comes out fast. Nico holds on to it. By the way the game book reads, he held on to it, but CJ got the ball out really quick. It was wet and sloppy today. Nothing to see here. No reason to ask why they didn't challenge or anything. 2nd and 5, Joe Mixon. Look at the line of scrimmage. There's movement. There's guys blocking downfield. One of the things D'Amico talked about was guys staying attached. You know, they can win the first couple steps, but then they have a tendency to fall off of blocks. If you look at Scruggs downfield right there at the 48-yard line, does a really good job. Just still driving, staying attached, gets the first down. Okay, run a boot. Now, this is one that, independent of the competition, I feel good about, because this is CJ throwing the ball well on the run, somebody in his face, no hesitancy. Got the ball to Schultz. Schultz holds on to it. Good job all around right there. I felt good about that. What are we getting? Oh, we get another run by Joe Mixon. You know what? It was 4 yards, but I don't care, because Joe Mixon ended up having, let's see, where was he? Joe Mixon had, whatever it was, he averaged like 4.5, 5 yards per carry. But they were, for the most part, other than down on the goal line that we're going to see here, positive yardage without huge explosives. I'll take that any day of the week. Right here, okay, CJ's had this tendency to bail out of the back of the pocket lately, and he starts to here. His hand is forced a little bit, but at least he finds his way back up into the proper spot in the pocket, up in the actual pocket. And then he does what I think he's gotten better at all year, finding his outlet receiver. Running backs had 3 receptions in this game. Agumbawale, 2 of them, and Mixon, 1 of them. Okay, 3rd and short. You go to Nico, back shoulder. Good pitch and catch, good relationship, all that stuff by Nico and CJ. I still don't feel super comfortable about their ability to convert short yardage or necessarily Bobby Slowick's play calling. So here, you've got a guy coming off the edge. The Titans had loaded up versus the run front side, and I don't know exactly. I think that guy was probably supposed to be unaccounted for, but Mixon just makes a hell of a play getting the first down. I was honestly surprised in real time. Obviously, he didn't get it, but I thought he did. All right, this is where we get the officials screw up. They didn't reset the clock. I'd be furious and irate about this if it were a game that mattered or if the Texans didn't score here. But here, again, Titans are loading up versus the run. You get 3 yards down there. It's not the worst thing in the world. I know our expectations are so low that everything that's not a 5-yard run there sometimes feels awful. But then on the second play, that's where they really loaded up to stop the run. So what do? You hit play action hard. They bite on it. They let the most dangerous guy on the field open. And again, it's nice to see well-placed ball by CJ. Nothing to complain about there. My only, I guess maybe a little asterisk there would be, yes, it was a nice opening drive. Nico Collins touched the ball 4 times. You're not going to get Nico the ball 4 times on every drive in an NFL game. So that's something that gets them some confidence, gets them rolling. I think the biggest thing I was happy about was that there were opportunities on that drive where if CJ had thrown an errant ball on the blitz that he threw to Nico, wasn't a perfect pass, but it was under duress. They got the reception. The third down to Nico, the conversion on 3rd and 2, that was great. Touch, timing, back shoulder, all of that. When he was out on the run and he threw to Schultz, again, it was wet and sloppy out there. The rest of the game, if I were judging this by starting offense standards, I'd be really upset about the sloppiness. Davis Mills did some nice things, also had some bad throws. Deontay Johnson, I'm actually pretty pleased with, even though he only had 2 receptions on the day. He was open a good amount. He had the one missed opportunity with the bad throw. And in my mind, there's another missed opportunity on one of the other targets. He was targeted 4 times, but I can't pull it up into my tiny little noggin right now. And then the other really nice story of the day was Damian Pierce, 19 carries for 176 yards and a touchdown, highlighted by this one. He goes 92 yards, which I guess is the longest play from scrimmage all season long. Let me pause it so they don't copyright crash this on the live stream. But important to note, right there, he's got Mike Brown, defensive back, chasing him. He's got 2 yards on him. I'll say if a defensive back takes the entirety of the field to catch up to you, took him about, 40 yards to catch up to him there, that's pretty fast bowling ball Damian Pierce. But he also still had bowling ball elements of his game today, which was really nice to see. Mike Brown goes for the fumble and said, okay, so on this play, I thought this was good. Now, neither of these are going to be overly impressive physical blocks, but you got Titus Howard at left guard. You've got Laramie Tunsil, obviously, at left tackle. This is the kind of stuff that isn't going to look impressive. Titus does a good job reaching the defensive tackle, but some of the communication and timing issues between the offensive linemen earlier in the year, I could have seen maybe Laramie thinking that he was supposed to overtake the defensive tackle and Titus was supposed to work up. There's no hesitation there, and he's got to get to number 57. And he gets there just enough and clips him. It's not a clip when you're inside the tackle box. So good job by Laramie Tunsil right there. Damian, excellent job. Let's look at his vision. He sees the cutback lane, makes it, goes. The extra cut was one that he had to take. And then Joe Mixon got 42 yards rushing on it. It's really cool to see Joe Mixon all game long. He's engaged and happy to be playing football. So I was happy about that. The other big thing is, look, the Texans entered this game 5th in the NFL in takeaways. And Derek Barnett would get his 2nd touchdown of the season. As they pointed out on the broadcast, that's only 1 or 2 shy from some of the skill position players. But that's what it's like. That's what it's going to take. I think they can make incremental improvements in the offense, but for them to make any kind of an actual run, the defense is going to have to play out of their brains. And this one was a good one. Let's go right to the beginning of this. So Derek Barnett up at the top. If you missed this because you chose not to watch this game, I totally get why you didn't, but this was fun. I thought I was going to have to grit my teeth through the second half, but it ended up being pretty fun. So they try the end around to 80 there. They botch the handoff. Barnett, I think at that point, he almost was treating it like, okay, this is just a fake handoff, but then he realizes the ball's down. And then we know Barnett's got skills. Look, he looks back. He's looking for a defensive back because typically they're coming up on the outside, and he thinks, well, okay, I see nothing in my peripheral. I'm going to turn back. Nice block there. And then that was Hewitt. And then he shoved Hewitt out of the way. And then he looks down. He's looking for Bryant again. He looks at Kinsey and he's like, not you mother bleeper. And by this point, Miles Bryant has just turned into an escort and then a barrel roll for good measure. If I had pulled it up, one of the more impressive, they had 2 sacks on the day. Derek Barnett had a sack. Mario Edwards had a sack. Mario Edwards' sack against the little short-armed offensive guard that I cannot remember his name right now. That was as impressive as it gets, and it was against a starter. Some of the good stuff that the Texans' offensive line and defensive line did today was against some of the Titans starters. So, we call it a glorified preseason game. I don't want to take anything away from it because it was a glorified preseason game in some ways, but there were a lot of starters playing out there the whole day. There were times where I thought the offensive line got good push when Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat were in the games. There were other times when Tavondre Sweat showed up as Tavondre Sweat, and that's going to be an ongoing concern. My one hope is that, all right, with this offensive line and with Laramie Tunsil, who has improved on average in his run blocking, he's more committed to it, but he's kind of catching up from behind in some ways because he's trying to be a different player than he's been for most of his career, but he is working at it. And then on the interior offensive line, just by the sheer bulk of having Juice Scruggs at right guard instead of, say, like a Kendrick Green or an aging Shaq Mason, and then having Titus Howard at left guard, I think you're going to have some bad snaps versus the good teams, but there might be more potential when you're running more power game stuff, when you're running duos, to actually get some push and to get some movement and let Joe Mixon do his thing. So I feel good about that. It was as good a game as it could be under the circumstances in really sloppy conditions. I'm going to forgive some of the sloppiness. And then look, the Titans score that touchdown in the second half where you've got Yeast, who, man, that poor kid. Your practice squad call-up, he's sitting there, your eyes get all big because you see this is your chance, and then you forget, oh, yeah, I'm in the NFL, and there's really good athletes all around me, and somebody's going to make a play for this ball, and it was just taken away from him. So Yeast isn't likely going to be playing in the postseason, so I'm not overly worried about that. Hopefully Okudah comes back from his concussion. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Go for it, yes. Enjoy your win. The Texans will get eliminated. Oh, no, Turbo. Oh, no, Turbo. Tunsil's still on my nerves. Okay. The 2 false starts. Oh, son of a bitch. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me ever since Turbo insulted my football team. So the 2 false starts. I was honestly kind of surprised when he had his second false start. I just tweeted something about how, Ross Tucker had said that, well, maybe it's the cadence of the quarterback being new. Yes, that's understandable, but Laramie was the only one who seemed to be having an issue with it at least twice. So I'm not overly concerned about it because Laramie has cleaned it up a lot in the second half of the season. The sum total of it all is, though, that if I point out that the guy who's leading the league in the NFL has 2 false starts in 1 quarter, I was honestly dismayed by the people who came after me acting like it was undue hatred towards the guy who's leading the league in penalties. No, it's not. This is where I am. I hold Laramie Tunsil to a higher standard. I think he's capable of being an all-pro player, not Pro Bowl, all-pro. He's physically capable of it. He's just nowhere near Trent Williams, Penei Sewell, that lot when it comes to attention to detail in the run game, attention to detail out on screen, stuff like that, and then attention to detail when it comes to not false starting. Those guys, Trent Williams or Penei Sewell, on average, guys like that, like the year in, year out all-pros, they have between 0 and 3 false starts in a season typically. And like Trent Williams had 1 this year, I think Penei Sewell had 2. So when the leader of the defense, or when the leader of the offensive line is doing things that are just clearly inattentive to detail, it annoys me. Having said all that, it's not like he's the big issue on the play on the field, obviously. His pass protection is very important. Although I got to go back and watch the kid from LSU more. But Turbo is a C word. Titans fans should be groveling at our feet for giving them the number 1 pick, number 2. This is the second time Davis Mills has delivered either for the Houston Texans or the Houston Oilers in the span of 3 seasons. He's in the final game of the season, he has secured a certain draft pick. Now, with the Texans, at the time it felt like, oh no, we're going to miss out on Bryce. Yeah, I get it. So good job, Davis Mills. All right, I'm going to get going. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the video. I'll try to react to the press conference later tonight. Might not get to it until tomorrow. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's load up, get emotionally ready for likely the Chargers. If you're watching this 2 hours from now and the Chargers have lost, don't tell me well actually in the comments. I'll lose my shit.